I'm going to call the Star City Council meeting to order. It's Tuesday, August 20th, 2024 at 7 p.m. here at the Star City Hall. Can you all please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. And we have Associate Pastor Nathan Hild from the Calvary Star Church for our invocation tonight.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for the privilege and the opportunity that we have to gather again this evening, Lord. We ask you, Lord, that you would continue to keep your hand of blessing and protection over our city, Lord Jesus. I pray that you would give our mayor and the city council members continued wisdom and insight and direction, Lord, as they lead and facilitate our city, Lord Jesus. Thank you so much for all the blessings that we have here. This is such a wonderful place to live, Lord. And I pray, Lord, as we forge further into the future, Lord, that you would continue to lead and guide and direct our steps. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you. Appreciate that. All right, roll call.
Nielsen.
Present.
Salmonson.
Here.
Chadwick.
Here.
Wheelock.
Here.
Hershey.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yep. So
All right.
Councilman Hershey, so everybody's aware, is online. We got wonderful people like him that during this time of the year when we have fires are busier than snot, so he's out. He's the main contracting officer for helicopters for the fires in our country, and he just got called out. So he's got bad reception, so he may or may not be able to participate a little bit, but we do have a quorum here outside of him, just so everybody's aware. Okay? All right, thank you. All right, we're going to start off tonight with our first presentation by our Star Police. I will let you know that Star Fire has no report. They have some data that has to still be updated before they can give their report next month to us when the system was out. Chief's going to talk about that too a little bit, I think. Aren't you? Yeah. So Chief Hessing.
All right, good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council. I'm Chief Zach Hessing, Star Police Department. Grateful for the opportunity to be able to present this report this evening. I do want to make mention, I'm guessing that's why the fire chief needs to update some of his stuff too, is during the month of July, we had a cyber incident that our security team saw that there's some weird activity going on. I don't speak the IT world, but they saw some things that they shut down the CAD system for dispatch for about a week. And so for a week straight, the dispatchers in the Ada County Sheriff's Office Dispatch Center that provides services to all first responders in Ada County were actually running papers back and forth to each other like they used to do in the old days. It could brought me back when I first started taking notes on a notepad, but all the computers in our patrol cars weren't working either, wouldn't connect. So again, it was about 7 or 8 days that it was down for. So the numbers I present to you tonight, you're going to see that they're a little short of what the past months have been. And so I'm expecting, we're actually having people, and I feel bad for these people too, that are going back and manually entering all the calls we went to and even the proactive calls or self-initiated calls we did. They're manually entering that back into the system to bring our data back up and to show, have a better record of what occurred during that week that our system was down. So again, as I present these numbers, they're going to be a little low. I do expect them to go up, and we'll update the City of Star website as that goes on. So just real quick, as we're about just over 6 months into this year, we had a total of 47 person crimes in the City of Star, 41 property crimes, and 66 society crimes. The person crimes, we had 3 for the month of July, 9 property crimes, then 9 society crimes. And when we talk about, person crimes is obviously person to person. Property crimes, anything that's to do with burglary or theft or vandalism. But society crimes is a little trickier, but most of those are going to be your drug charges. For those 9 that we had, was 7 marijuana charges, 1 paraphernalia charge, and 1 methamphetamine charge. So that's what we got off of traffic stops and going to homes is pulling drugs off the streets there. So again, I'm grateful for this area we live in that we still can do those marijuana charges. So again, that was add a little bit to our caseload this month. Citizen calls for service. You can see that we had 308 calls for service. And then our proactive policing calls or self-initiated calls when we traffic stops, talking to people on the street, those type of things was 1,243. As you can see, I would expect that number to go up quite a bit as we're manually entering, because if you look at the prior months, it's quite a bit lower than what the prior months were. So I do expect those to go up. But even at where we're at right now, we have 4 proactive policing calls to every one citizen calls for service, or in my mind, more of a reactive call when somebody's calling for help. So we're out there, we're busy, we're getting to know the community and trying to do the best we can on suppressing any of the crime that's occurring out there. So I didn't notice much in the select call types throughout this month. Again, we're with school starting up, we're doing a lot more school checks. We'll see that go up in August. We're getting out, getting to know the kids and making sure they're safe walking to and from school. So number of arrests was a total of 10 with 2 DUI arrests. Total percent charges for that had to do with drugs was about 10%. And then we had a total citations, and again, this will probably go up as well, was 32 infraction citations and 13 misdemeanor citations, so a total of 45. We had 2 mental health cases, hold cases that we took. And then if you look at our average code 3 call response time, 3 minutes and 32 seconds for the month of July, which is a little high still what we're compared to throughout the year. We're averaging about 2 minutes and 40 seconds. Our average did go up this month to 2 minutes and 58 seconds. But we're well below the goal of 4 minutes to respond there. So we're still trying to get that down and figure out. And I think part of that might have to do with the dispatch putting us out when we go over the radio, because they were awfully busy running around and taking care of the records there. So out of Star, response time was 4 minutes and 58 seconds, which that's when we go to unincorporated county or Eagle or Meridian and help them out. So we're in code 3 call, it takes the city of Star to get there is about that 5-minute mark. So I think that's the July report. Is there any questions, concerns that city council or mayor has?
Do you have a question there?
I just have a question. I know it's a monster load to fill that week back in. What's the time frame expected?
So
I guess.
we're hoping to have it done before the end of September is the goal, because that's when a lot of things change, evaluations change, because that's when our new fiscal year starts. So that's the goal. I don't know if they're going to hit it, because they're doing it for not only just for City of Star, but all of the first responders in Boise City, Meridian, all the fire departments, EMS. So it's going to take some time, but hopefully by the end of September.
Thank you.
Well,
Did you need a part-time job?
Yeah, I need
could
something.
use you.
Okay.
Data entry is my specialty. I was curious.
All right. Any other questions of Chief? All right. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. All right. We're going to move on to, so we added something this month. Ryan, who holds many hats here in the City of Star, is going to give us a sports and recreation update, because we want to make sure that you guys understand what's going on.
Was that or wrong?
Yeah, it was either Ryan or Ron, so we picked Ryan.
What was that? So I've, Mayor and Council, I've threatened to do this for a while now, and so I figured it was time to make good on that promise. I'll be honest with you, the catalyst to get this over the top was actually Councilman Wheelock. He came to the Recreation Center after the 4th of July parade, and we had baking camp going. And he's like, man, I didn't know, what are all these kids doing here? I didn't know we had this going on. And so I thought it was pretty important that we start to share everything that we've got going on. And we are really doing a lot of good stuff in sports and rec. Let's start with the adult side. Right now, this is what we've got going on. We've got cornhole going on, multiple cornhole tournaments. That has been a huge hit. We've got Ultimate Frisbee open play, pickleball, soccer open play, co-ed softball, and volleyball. Yeah, pickleball has been huge. Adult participants for that are signed up for August is 153 amongst those different sports that are right there. They're the cornhole tournament. We've got a championship ring. It's pretty big. Looks like a big Super Bowl ring. Everybody's pretty excited to win that. So we've been pretty excited with the adult sports. Youth sports going on right now. We just finished registration for sideline cheer, NFL flag football, and soccer. We have 639 total participants, youth participants. Those are unique youth participants in one of these three activities that just closed registration. To give you an idea of what that looks like, last year in soccer, we had about 350 participants. This year, we're over 450. So in a year, we've grown that, and we always lose some too, because some kids decide they want to go competitive. They may leave. Some kids decide they want to play a different sport, but we grew by over 100 kids in our soccer program. And so we have a lot of youth that are out there. These numbers are fantastic from a youth sports perspective.
I have one question. I don't want to interrupt, but
Mhm.
what's the amount of youth that are at Star Elementary?
600, about 680.
So we're almost 1-for-1 to our elementary in participation,
Just from the elementary, but we remember,
just from the elementary.
yeah, we remember most of the kids south of Highway 44 get shipped in the Eagle for elementary school. So, yeah, so there's quite a few. I mean, we got a lot of kids.
That's a lot of participation
Yeah.
is all I'm saying.
Yep.
Yes,
Yep.
absolutely. Another thing that we did this summer, we normally do summer camps, but this year we went full day summer camps. Thank you so much for your support with the purchase of the bus. That was huge. That allowed us to use multiple locations this year as opposed to being squeezed into just one. We had 3,111 youth registrations for summer camp. Out of that, 1,011 were unique, meaning basically we had 1,011 kids come to summer camp. Many of them registered multiple times. So we had some awesome summer camps this week. Some of my favorites, we did the Splash Zone, even though it is not Bob's favorite because we put up a lot of inflatables that use water at the park. They do leave a brown spot on the grass for about a week until that comes back because it was so hot. We had the Out of This World Cosmic Camp, which was a lot of fun. Archery, we did one archery camp that lasted 3 days that was sold out almost as immediately as we posted it. It was phenomenal. The Let's Get Wild Reptile Week, it was a lot of fun to see those kids involved in that. And so I guess really, twofold. It doesn't do me much good to make a presentation unless I have an ask. So I have two for you at this time. One, come out and visit any one of the activities that we have going on. We'd love to see you. Would love for everybody to understand what we're doing out there and everything that we're providing and offering. Come chat with the parents and the youth and really see what's out there. And two, even though the mayor's working on it, as we continue to have land use discussions that come before you, I would like for you to keep in mind, where are all of these kids going to recreate? Right now, we are at Hunters Creek, we're at Blake, and we're using the elementary school and the middle school fields. As these continue to grow, we obviously will have, are we calling it Cowboy Camp?
Cowboy Park.
Oh, Cowboy Park. Okay. I knew there was another name. I wasn't sure if we were going with it yet or not.
Boot Hill.
It's
The
the cemetery
Cowboys and the
property.
cemetery's property. Yeah, Boot Hill.
So that will be available and online next fall probably. And we also will have Pavilion Park, which will be online next spring as well. We were hoping we'd have it a little bit earlier. However, we are still, as we continue to grow and we have all these houses built, these kids are going to come and be able to participate. And our goal is to maintain a program with a cost that does not eliminate anybody from having the opportunity. And we have scholarships and donations and programs available to help kids participate. And so those are my two asks. And that is the update for August.
Hey, so Ryan, real quick, do we have before and after school programming still too?
We do. Before and after school just started with school. Absolutely. I have not seen the registration numbers for that yet, but I will have that on next month's report.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
Mayor Chadwick,
Weaver?
thank you for this information. I think that it's super cool that we have a great program for our kids and adults, and that's what helps, build our community and bring our people together and just foster that community. So, but I do have a couple of questions. One, so I know that we have adult like yoga. I've taken yoga and Tai Chi, and there's some other classes.
Mhm.
So maybe next time when you present, if you could just include some of that information too, just so right,
Sure.
we have it.
Yeah, you bet. I can put that in there.
And then my other, I guess, comment maybe would be that I know with these summer camps that there was a number of students that were also hired to help out with the camps. I have my daughter's friend was one of the camp helpers and had so much fun doing it. So
Good.
another, kudos to the program for the older kids that maybe, are too old for these programs, but still want to, participate and get involved. So
Yeah.
thank you.
No,
Ryan,
thank
how
you.
many,
And
how many total kids
I
are?
was just going to
adults?
say that we hired 52 local youth from the city of Star. And so we chose, they usually would work one shift a day so that we didn't burn them out, and they had the time to go and live their life as well, but they received great job skills and opportunities. They went through an interview process. They go through a development process. We also have a merit increase process in place as well. So we're very excited for that and look forward to next year, maybe even have a more. So yes, thank you for pointing that out.
All right, Councilman Wheelock? Yep. Sorry.
I just I walked into that baking class and there had to been 70 kids or more baking on 8 different ovens and they were all participating. And I was amazed at the amount of leadership that the youth were showing, the amount of kids that were there and involved. It was incredible.
Just try being a judge.
I imagine that's a rough go.
Rough go.
Hopefully they mix their proportions right. But I also wanted to note that Chief Hessing gives his report every month. He has no asks. Just saying. Let's keep that to a minimum.
I will have a talk with him, Councilman Wheelock.
Right. All right, we good? Any other questions or anything, Ryan? Okay, cool. Thank you, sir. All right, we're going to move on to item 4D. We have Mr. Fisher here and Republic here to talk about some concerns Mr. Fisher and his neighbors have about oil, I believe, or fluids. So just do me a favor for the records, just state your name and address for the record.
Okay.
So for Jacob has that.
Yes, my name is Douglas Fisher, 3554 North Tansy Place. That's Star.
Hey, just real quick, do you have those in a copy that you can just send to Jacob so he has them for the record?
Absolutely. They were included in the email I sent to you and
I've got
The
on
Brian-
the original email or the second?
I can.
Is it on the original email or the
Yes,
second?
it is, but I can get all that stuff to him. I have
Perfect.
a big old file.
That way it goes to the online world.
You're more than welcome to these slides after we're done with them. All right.
Go ahead, sir. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor and City Council, thank you for letting me have the opportunity to address this important issue. I've been trying to work with Republic Services since May of this year. I've talked to many employees and supervisors at Republic. And the problem still continues. I have many pictures and videos available. I know many, excuse me, I know many of my neighbors are upset and have complained to Republic. Their trucks leak every week, including this past Monday, August 20th. Republic Services has sent out cleaning crews 2 different times. They spread absorbent all over the oil spots, and then they just leave it. They only put oil absorbent on the spots where the residents complain. Everything else just gets left alone. The absorbent spread all over the streets in our community looks terrible. And they're still absorbing out in our street tonight. And this doesn't solve the problem. I have a video, very large video of an unbelievable trail of oil that the truck left down the street throughout our neighborhood on May 28th. It's an incredible video to watch. There's over 50 oil stains in front of my house alone. It's kind of crazy. They just keep building up and they come out and spread the absorbent there. All it does is just make a bigger mess. I see these oil stains all throughout our community here in Star and even in my daughter's neighborhood over in Meridian. This much oil spilled throughout our community is an environmental hazard. Republic Services needs to be held accountable for the damage they've throughout our streets, in the community. Republic Services needs to properly clean up the oil spills so they're no longer visible throughout our community. I look forward to getting this issue resolved and our streets cleaned up. Thank you. Do you have any questions?
No, I just want to make a comment, just so you're aware.
Okay?
We can't, this is an ACHD deal because we don't do anything with the roads.
Okay?
The only thing we can do is facilitate the conversation, try to get it taken care of,
Okay.
right? I just want to make sure that everybody's fully clear of that. We've been talking with the director head with ACHD, who has been in communication with Republic as well
Okay?
about this issue. So there's not going to be a result tonight for you, but we're working on that.
Okay, I
Okay.
appreciate
Yeah.
all the attention you give to it. It keeps getting worse and worse.
But
I
we
invite
also,
you to come out and take a look at the community. I mean, just drive up and down our street. Before you even get to my house, you'll be amazed.
now, and this is not to be negative or anything, but understand that ACHD next year is going to be coming through with a bunch of oil, also dumping them on the streets to do chip sealing.
Okay?
So that's going to happen. So you will see ACHD trucks coming out here and doing we're due. Every 7 years, they do it on all the local roads, and we have a lot of new local roads that
Okay.
have to get done here in Star. So I just want to make you fully aware that that is a process that does happen in our valley in Ada County. So,
All right.
but we'll work with ACHD and Republic on trying to see what we can get resolved
Okay.
on that. So,
Appreciate that.
awesome. Thank you.
Hey, Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
is
No, we can't, because this is not a public hearing style thing. Thanks,
Mr.
Ryan.
Mayor, I just wanted to add that Adam Van Patten, he's the senior environmental planner with ACHD. He and I have been playing phone tag and we're trying to find time to meet this week so that we can continue the conversation as well. Thanks, Victor. I'm currently waiting to get back with him and after we meet, I will have an update on whatever we learned from that meeting for you as well.
Thank you. Rochelle, do you want to say anything on the Republic side of this?
Thank you, Mayor Chadwick and Council. Rochelle Klein with Republic Services, and I manage municipal services, and this is Bruce Smith. He's our operations manager, so he can help answer questions too. And just by way of history, he has been out here. He was throwing cans in Star back in 2000, so he's really dedicated to the community, and he's moved up through our company. So he's kind of an American dream case over here. But first, I just want to say thank you. We've been here a long time, and out of our 20 plus years here, this is the first summer we've had these problems with our trucks, and we're owning them. So we've been working since May, and Mr. Fisher sent us videos, and the first truck that he said, and there are no excuses. I'm just telling you how we're resolving it. So this is the first summer that we've been playing kind of whack-a-mole. We have 7 residential trucks in Star, and currently they're all down. All of them, we pulled them off the street, and we've hired a third-party company to come in and go like top to bottom, side to side to figure out what's leaking and where it's leaking and to fix it. We also have 4 rentals that we've secured. They just don't come overnight because they're like factories on wheels. So we're a big enough company that they are coming. So we have 4 rental trucks coming until the third party supports our technicians in getting all the issues fixed. We have been working with ACHD. The problem is that it is a petroleum-based, hydraulic fluids petroleum-based. So the second it touches the street, it stains. So if you put floor dry on there or the absorbent, it'll it'll make it lighter, but really it's time and weather that lightens it. I'm glad you mentioned ACHD. We've been working with them every day. I've sent Mr. Fisher the product sheet so he knows that environmentally, it's a problem if it touches water, it goes down a storm drain or things like that on the street. It's not eye appealing, and it's not an environmental hazard. So it is just discoloring, and we apologize for that. So we have been working through the fleet. So even today, when he talked about, or the 20th, we had a driver leave the route with a spare truck, and in the morning it was fine, and it had a hydraulic leak mid-morning. So he contacted the supervisor. Supervisor sent somebody out to clean up the spill, and our environmental engineer came out as well. So it's partly a function of just the trucks are 7, 8 years old, and so we have historically maintained a certain maintenance schedule for the trucks. With the extended heat this summer, we're going to change our maintenance schedule and upgrade it to like what we do in Phoenix or Las Vegas or someplace with higher temperatures for extended periods of time. So that means replacing seals more often and hoses more often and things like that to address future leaks. I mean, we really haven't had this problem ever before in Star. So for us, we're really apologetic and we're asking you to be patient with us as we get the rental trucks in and we have a third party come in and support our technicians. And I think too, did you want to add something, Bruce? I probably should. I covered most of it. The other thing I want to add is we've spent hours driving the streets and we have gone into areas that are just under development now and we're seeing oil stains and it's kind of a big, if you're used to Class 8 vehicles, it's a problem with a lot of Class 8 vehicles. So even in streets where we're not dumping containers yet, we just went out and documented hydraulic oil stains on those streets that are new, that haven't even had trash service start. And so we want to make sure once we get our side fixed, that if you see stuff, and I know there are videos and pictures and stuff, but once we get our trucks fixed, it may not make it go away, is what I'm saying. As long as there's development in Class 8 big vehicles moving around, it still might be something, but we're going to take care of our side of it. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Nothing? I just want to, so we're good. Thank you, Rochelle. I don't- You have anything?
Other than I'm aware of with the 100+ degree day over and over and over, it is hard on seals above and beyond normal years. This has been a rough year. I have had that same problem and I'm aware of. That's a real issue when it's hot extended. You've got to be ahead of it, I guess.
And if you're not, for those who are not aware, Kevin owns Big Cranes.
Oh, you do? So you,
Right.
Class 8.
He drives cranes
so
down the
you
road.
know, a lot of people, yeah, they think of their, yeah.
So, no.
Thanks, Kevin.
So,
All right.
Again,
So we're good. Thank
our
you.
apologies. Yeah, thank
Yep.
you very much.
And I just want to say, I appreciate Mr. Fisher bringing it forward. Okay. This is the venue to do that, although we're not always going to have a resolution right away, right? I do know ACHD and Republic and us are working on that, since you did bring that forward, and our staff's working on that. So thank you. Okay. Awesome. Thank you, Rochelle.
Thank you.
All right. We're going to move on to item 5, the consent agenda.
Mayor Chadwick.
Yes, ma'am.
I move that we approve the consent agenda consisting of item 5A, the approval of claims provided and previously paid. Item 5B, findings of fact, conclusion of law for Amazon Villas preliminary plat. Item 5C, findings of fact, conclusion of law for Lake Haven preliminary plat and private road. And item 5D, time extension for Cherist Estates.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Was that you?
Yeah.
Okay, we have a motion and a second by Councilman Wheelock. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Niels,
Aye.
Salmonson,
Aye.
Wheelock,
Aye.
Hershey.
Aye.
It worked. Fantastic. Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to item 6A. We're going to start a public hearings with action items. Our first one is with the Joplin Rim subdivision. And I'm just going to let everybody know the process. So if you want to speak to any of these public hearings, you need to please go sign up on the sheets that are out in the hall on that table there. That's the important part. I'm going to open the public hearing. I'm going to ask the council if they have any ex parte contact or communication on the project. The applicant has up to 20 minutes, so that the little clock is up here next to this TV to present their project. The council is going to ask the applicant and staff questions. And then we'll go to, staff is going to open up by presenting the project. And then the applicant has up to 20 minutes to present their project. Then the council is going to ask the applicant and staff questions if they have some. Then we're going to get to the public testimony portion where it's 3 minutes per person. The council may ask the individual speaking follow-up questions that do not count towards your 3 minutes. Then the applicant gets a 10-minute rebuttal. The council can follow up and ask applicant and staff more additional questions. I will close the public hearing at that point. The council is going to deliberate. Either a motion is going to be made to approve with conditions, deny, or table the application to a date certain in the future. Just so everybody's aware, only the person at the podium has the floor to speak. We're not going to have no cheering, jeering, all that kind of stuff out in the audience, because if that happens, we're going to remove you, because that's not the way that this process works. And I appreciate everybody coming and being part of the process, because that's the key to making these things better for everybody. All right. With that said, I'm going to open the public hearing. It is 7:29. I'm going to ask the council, do they have any Ex parte contact or communication regarding this project?
None.
No.
No.
Okay, hearing none. Sean, did you want to present that project?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
You?
Mayor and Council, we have before you the first public hearing of the evening, Joplin Rim subdivision. The applicant is requesting annexation and zoning, development agreement, a preliminary plat, and a private street, approval for 49 residential lots and 7 common lots. The private street is requested to access the northern lots north of Joplin Road. The development is located at the southeast corner of Joplin Road and Canada Road. Requested zoning designation is residential R4. The property size is 13.5 acres with an overall proposed density of 3.46 dwelling units per acre. All application requirements, including submittals, agency transmittals, legal noticing, site posting have all been completed by the applicant and staff in compliance with the Unified Development Code. The application has also been reviewed for compliance with the Unified Development Code and the City Comprehensive Plan, including the South of the River Plan. You have a late exhibit on your desk in front of you is an updated landscape plan and an updated preliminary plat. The only items for consideration include private streets without sidewalks as requested by the applicant. They also have some waivers of rear yard setbacks that they are requesting. Staff is recommending approval of the applications before you with conditions of approval. Again, the property is located at the southeast corner of Joplin and Canada. This is the copy of the preliminary plat. Revised landscape plan. The applicant has also provided elevations for some of the residential units. Staff, that's all staff has. Thank you.
Okay, that's it, Sean? Okay, all right, Miss Emily. And also, I'll just remind everybody, when you come up to the podium, you need to state your name and address too for the record as well. So, thank you. All right.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. Emily Mueller, 839 South Bridgeway Place. I am here on behalf of Idaho Holdings, and I'm really delighted to be here and appreciate the opportunity to present this Joplin Rim subdivision. John Bottles with my team is also here, and he can help me answer questions or any comments that you have later on. So the main thing, a couple of the key takeaways for tonight are the things that we're excited about, the diversity in lot sizes that we're providing in this subdivision, the varying product type and price range of homes that presents, the realignment of Joplin Road that we have taken consideration of doing that really fixes a life safety issue up there. And then the integration with the neighborhood to the east. Naismith Commons, Naismith subdivision was a plat that we brought through about 1.5 years ago now. As staff has already oriented us, Joplin Rim is up on the southeast corner of where Joplin and Canada Road intersect. It's about 13 acres, 13.5 acres. And as mentioned, it borders the Naismith subdivision, which again was brought about 1.5 years, which is then again bordered by Star Point and Oaklawn down below. So this is really a natural area of growth that we're really excited to be a part of. The site is designated for neighborhood residential use in the comprehensive plan, and our R4 designation, zoning designation, matches that. Our development plan includes the 13.5 acres with an R4 zone, 48 residential lots at about 3.5 dwelling units an acre. I think staff had 3.46, so I'm going to go with that one. And an average lot size of 7,855 square feet as an average. As staff mentioned, you can kind of see on this depiction, the Joplin Road which I'll have another slide kind of showing the realignment in a moment. But we are proposing to straighten Joplin Road, so it goes straight through the subdivision, straight through the project, and to provide housing on the north. As we can't have driveways off of a collector, we'll have a private street. And as part of ACHD's requirements, we will be putting in a 10-foot wide, so it goes street section, 8 feet of planter landscape, a 10-foot wide multi-use path, and then we'll have more landscaping up to the private road. So we are requesting not having a sidewalk along that private road because we will have such a large multi-use path. And that private road really just accesses those rim lots, kind of more servicing as like a large driveway for everyone. So, you know, that multi-use path, that 10-foot multi-use path bordered with landscaping on both sides is really gonna function as a great sidewalk along that. Continuing to the south, we have that same 10-foot multi-use path all along the collectors. That's going to provide great connectivity, again, to all of those new developments up on the rim. It's going to be a great pathway system to go across all of the rim up there. And again, to the south is where we have additional lots, our common area. And all in all, we just think that this came together really well. As discussed, we will be realigning Joplin Road. Our initial plan that we presented at our first pre-application meeting actually didn't include realigning Joplin Road. And the reason for that is we've actually been in communication with ACHD for a long time about this road. I think that's one of the first things we asked them when we were doing due diligence on this property is, do you want to see Joplin Road straightened out? And they said, no, we don't have that in our plan. We see no need to do that. So again, our first iteration of planning didn't have Joplin Road being rerouted. It was brought to our attention that as vehicles are traveling north on Canada, they really can fly and trying to turn right onto Joplin, just go straight off the ledge there. I think in some areas it's almost 40 feet. So, you know, fire and everyone informed us, including the property owner to the north, that happens frequently, multiple times a year. And so we are excited to have control of this and to be able to align it. We worked with ACHD. Part of that's going to be a vacation process. We'll go through that with ACHD after approval with the city. And, you know, it's going to be a large infrastructure cost, just creating a totally new segment of Collector Road through a relatively small site. Again, it's only a 13-acre site. So a pretty large infrastructure cost for this, but it's going to create some, I mean, obviously it's going to help cure the life safety issue, is just going to be safer for everyone, not just the residents in this subdivision, but the community. And then with some of the, again, getting kind of to the setback waivers that we're going to request with regards to the rim lots, enabling us to utilize that rim for those houses. We are excited about the open space in this subdivision. It's a centrally located children's play area, open space and seating. And as mentioned earlier, this is going to be connected through the multi-use pathways and through detached sidewalks throughout the subdivision. Your code was recently updated to update from 6 feet of landscaping to 8 feet of landscaping for all detached sidewalks. So we have incorporated that. It's going to be, again, great walking, great connectivity throughout the subdivision. Previously, when we had worked with Naismith, worked on a donation as part of the city park. So we'll have a larger city park that's just a parcel south of this. That will also, be hopefully one day be an even larger area. And so, we're really excited about the connectivity, the amenities here to service this 13-acre subdivision. We have provided a wide range of lot sizes and product type throughout the subdivision, which we're really excited about. The minimum lot size in the subdivision is 5,153 square feet. The maximum lot size is 12,494 square feet. So a really great diversity in lot sizes that will create a wide range of product type, of prices, again, utilizing those rim lots and then having other interior lots that are all a part of the same community, which we're excited about. Some of those conceptual renderings are provided here, and staff has showed the full, the other two I think that we have, and we will comply with the new architectural standards that again were added into the code to have varying architectural standards, floor plans alternating to create, you know, a great diverse community here. Finally, as mentioned, we are requesting a setback variance for 5 of the lots along the rim here. We were careful to not request any side yard setbacks variances, but to focus on the rear setbacks. And the purpose of these setbacks and what we're requesting is listed there in the table and highlighted in blue are the lots, is because most of the housing products that we want to put in and that the builder would like to put in include covered patios. So families can go sit out, have the covered patio, and the setback is calculated off of that covered patio. So we want to be able to have the option to put covered patios for all of these houses. And then additionally, as staff mentioned earlier, the waiver to not have the sidewalk next to the private street. With that, we are in agreement with all of staff's comments and conditions of approval, are grateful for them working on this and their feedback throughout the process. And we are excited to provide needed housing, a mix of housing in this area, fix a life safety issue with Joplin Road and straightening that out, and just continue to grow and be a part of this great community. So thank you so much, and I will stand for questions.
Okay, I do have a couple questions real quick. I just want to clarify, so Canada Road's going to have a 10-foot multi-use path also, right? Because they're considering, okay.
It will, yep.
And then on Naismith Commons down along Joplin, this will connect to, they did have a big sidewalk there too that connects you to the natural park that's down at the bottom of the hill. Is that correct?
Yep. So Joplin is the same collector. So yes, there will be the same sidewalk that'll
All the way
connect you
down?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Any questions of Miss Emily at this time? Council? No? Nothing? Okay, he's saving it for later. All right, sounds good. Thank you, Miss Emily. Do we have the sheets?
Mr. Mayor, we do not have anyone signed up.
No one signed up. All right, Miss Emily, do you want to come up and rebut? Because then now it's his chance. There's nobody that signed up. Yeah, you come back up here because he's got questions.
I have questions, but I was thinking they'd be later but they're now. If we can go back to the slide with the rear setbacks. And as I looked at this, and with the south of the river plan right below this is a state residential.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe if those lots were bigger, wider or whatever, the subdivision just 2 or 3 down is combining lots. We've spent time trying to combine lots to have bigger lots for the view for the rim lots. And is there any way that would be helped if we didn't do the sides or the rear setback difference? Could you realign the houses and have it be a bigger, a bigger lot, I guess?
Councilman, Mayor and Councilman. Yes. So you're saying if we decreased the number of lots, would that open up some type of realignment where you didn't need to have a setback waiver?
Yeah.
We haven't looked at that. One thing, I'll also say is that property line that you see is to the center line of the current Joplin Road. So there actually is, an additional maybe 10 or 15 feet off the back of those that we just don't own in fee simple. So there will be additional ground there. ACHD will eventually vacate that, likely to the property owner to the north, or if we can work something out with them to us. But this is what we have currently. So there actually is, some more room that's just not really shown there before the cliff because of where our property line lies. So I guess, again, to go back to your question, we've laid out and I've worked with staff, or staff has a copy of this, but we haven't finalized it to include of how we are situating our homes. And we really like the layout that we have. And again, I think it's the reason that we're asking for the waiver is mostly so we can ensure we can have those covered patios behind it. So to answer your question, I guess I don't know. We'd have to get our designer team to look at that. But we do like the configuration as we have it.
I just want to ask a follow-up just so I'm clear. So then the private road is eaten up in the sum of that 10,000 square feet, like in lot 10, for instance, right? This getting old stuff is starting to get old, I'm telling you, because I can see that. But it's like 10,460 square feet. And that's the totality of that entire lot, including the private road coming into it, right?
Correct.
Okay. And then you're saying that that lot line on the back is going to the center of the existing Joplin Road. And then there's
Correct.
another 10 or so feet on that other side.
Yeah, and you can kind of, Mayor, sorry to interrupt. So you can kind of almost see that on
Oh,
this
on the
depiction. You can kind of see where our lot line is in solid, and then where the vacated road will end up, or where Joplin currently is. It's a much
Okay.
more softer curve than our property line is.
So there is a chance then that ACHD may give up those easements to these property owners, or what would happen with that property that's on the backside?
Yeah, it would just revert to the underlying fee simple owner. So that would be the property owner to our north. And we've been in
Oh,
contact
so it'll
with
go to
them.
them? Okay.
Yes.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah.
Because their property goes to the center line of that.
Yeah,
too. I got
exactly.
you.
And we've
Okay.
been in contact with them, and we had to actually do a little property swap with them in order to realign Joplin Road. Actually, our first neighborhood meeting was a very long time ago, and then realigning Joplin Road took us almost a year to get done. We again have worked collectively with the neighbor to the north. We had to swap some property with them so that, because they owned a piece of where the new aligned Joplin Road would come in. So we needed their permission, obviously, to do that. So we've had a great working relationship with them, and so that's who the property would be vacated towards.
So the intent would be on these rim lots that have wrought iron fencing then, right? Not vinyl,
Yes.
right? For that view and stuff like that? Okay. All right. Sorry, I took up all that time. Go ahead. You have more questions?
I have three more minutes.
No, you got plenty.
I appreciate I'm good with giving up the sidewalk on the north side of that private road. But I would err on the side of making bigger lots and figuring out how to realign them so that they maintain the more rim estate looking lots, because they have their own private road. All of those things are gonna long-term be a nicer amenity and a nicer lot than the ones even just to the south of them. And I would probably lean towards making the lots bigger and wider so that you could still have your porch in another configuration angle, or if that's what it took.
Mm-hmm.
But that'd be my opinion.
Okay. Any further questions?
Mayor Chadwick,
Councilman Nielsen?
I guess just to follow up on that to make sure I'm clear. So what you're saying is, because that property line goes to the center of the road, are you showing this to the center of the road so it'll be the second half of the road that's still kind of hanging out there beyond? So unless that property owner decides to do something within 15 feet along that strip, that's going to remain open space.
Mayor, Councilman, yes. So this line, yes, is just to our property line. So there is an additional, like if Joplin Road if you were to see Joplin Road right now, the center line would probably be our property line. So there's an additional, Joplin Road isn't super wide right now, but there would be an additional 10 feet or so.
Yeah.
Would it's the other property owner's property. It will be their property, but again, we've had a good working relationship with them and hope to make sure it's all.
And let me jump in and see if I'm misunderstanding. The other half of that road would be the old Joplin Road.
Correct.
right? That there's their property.
Mhm.
And are you leaving the asphalt back there? What would that end up looking like?
Mayor, Councilman, yeah, I think we don't have a plan for that right now, but I mean, certainly we would go dig it up. I don't know if, I don't know the process. I've never worked with ACHD on vacating a road before. We've had a number of meetings with them. So I don't know the exact process. I would imagine it would get torn up. I would imagine, you don't want any temptation for anyone to go walking back there or anything like that. Yeah.
10-foot, one lane of road.
Yeah, no, yeah.
So if if ACHD vacates, it would go to the dancers basically, right? That are down on the north side of that, correct?
Who would
Mayor,
have
yes.
nothing to do with a 10-foot strip across the top of the
Right.
hill.
Okay. But it's nothing that they can do because it's not on their property right now, right?
So I guess just to tie my question off. So like lot 11, you get a 3.5-foot rear setback. Add 10 feet, it's an effective 13.5-foot rear setback. Technically not a setback because it's property line, but the net effect is you're not just right there on the very edge of the cliff looking
Mayor,
down.
Yeah, Mayor, Councilman, yes. And I don't know, it's not an exact 10 feet across the whole thing. But I do know that they'll own ground along that.
Yeah, so that was a little
yes.
hard to tell on that other slide because it looked like the full road, like they're on this one here. So they're on the right. It looks like the full road is encompassed by your property line. Whereas toward the left side,
Mhm.
that's the full road right there. Is that correct? And then over here, you've got half of the road. Is that
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah, I think so. And that's what I'm seeing. I do know, however, there is additional ground there because that's part of the ground we did that swap with the dancers for. Just somehow when the surveying all took place years ago, we had a decent swath of ground that now isn't even in our property line because we gave it to the dancers in exchange for, it was just how the property lines ended up. So all that to say is I do know that there's additional ground, even though it's not part of Joplin Road, the existing Joplin Road there.
There's still more dirt outside the road before it drops off the hill.
I believe so
There's a
there.
there's a shoulder there too.
Right.
Yeah.
And just to give everyone again a little bit of a flavor for, I think Joplin Road in total is taking up about 1.5 acres or more. As we now have it realigned, we would have lost minimal ground if we would have kept it in the existing configuration. Again, that's why our original plan came in with Joplin Road staying as it was. So we have lost, some ground there definitely, which again is the main reason for that waiver request so that we can still utilize that ground.
David, are you online? Did you have any questions before I turn it back over to the councils here?
Just a clarification, because I'm just making sure those top lots, there will be nothing ever developed behind them because it goes to a cliff or it'd be a long ways away. Am I hearing that correctly?
Correct.
Okay,
It drops down to the lower area where the development would occur, not up on top of that rim.
all righty. That takes care of my question. Thank you.
You, Ms. Jennifer?
Yes, thank you. Kind of, I guess, changing the subject, back at the elevations of the houses. So I think, are we requiring 5 different styles, I believe? So just, let's see. Like the 2 bottom ones look very similar to me, but they're just a different color. So maybe you can point out how they're different. Because it seems like the elevations are very similar. And I think in John's presentation, maybe it was these same pictures. Is there another? I haven't seen these. They weren't. So is there another
Is there
picture?
more
Yeah,
elevations?
more elevations somewhere.
Mayor and Councilwoman, yes, we provided 6. It was, our understanding with this, we understand the code provisions and that those are finally checked at the time of building permit. So this definitely gives an idea of those elevations. This is not our final architectural scheme or our final layout scheme by any means. So certainly, you know, when we go through the design process with staff and ask for building permits, we will make sure every sub dash of that code provision is met in terms of spacing and layout differentiation and architectural treatment variation.
Great. Thank you. And then my other
you.
question, just to make sure I'm clear. So the pathway on Joplin Road, so the north side of Joplin will have the 10-foot wide pathway, multi-use, in between that private road and Joplin. And then on the south side of the road, is it also the 10-foot wide pathway, or is it going to match what is to the east of Naismith?
Mayor and Councilwoman, both sides of Joplin will have the multi-use path.
Okay.
So, yep, that's the ACHD's requirement. You
Yeah.
can either have a bike lane, or you can create, go up from a 5-foot sidewalk to a 10-foot sidewalk and create a multi-use path. So that's what we have opted to do on both sides of Joplin.
Glad to see that. My things. I think that's all I had.
Okay, any further questions of the applicant? None? David?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay, so if there's no further questions of applicant, I am going to close the public hearing at 7:56 and we'll go to council deliberations.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Mayor Chadwick.
Yes, sir.
So I appreciate the work that's gone into this application. From my perspective, I agree with staff's finding that it's in alignment with our comprehensive plan and unified development code. Appreciate your attention to our new codes. I also appreciate the realignment of Joplin. I know that's not an easy thing to do. And you know, I've ridden my bike up there a lot. I've driven it quite a bit, and it makes me nervous, and I don't get nervous driving very often, but yeah, if you're not careful around there, that definitely gets scary. So that'll be a good change. I'm personally, I'm good with the requested, there's no sidewalk along the private road, and also with the rear setbacks as requested. So with that, my support for the application is affirmative.
Okay.
See-
Any further comments? Motions?
Mayor Chadwick.
Councilwoman?
So I'd be curious, I too, you know, it meets our comprehensive plan, and it looks like they can meet all of our requirements from the information that we were given tonight and what was in our packet. But I think we do have an opportunity here we talk about, we have our minimum for our street trees, and it's been really hot this summer, and there's little shade along, you know, the sidewalks. And so I'm wondering if we can use this opportunity to maybe just bump up some of the trees on the north side of Joplin, because it's,
So let me have staff answer that question because we're a little late on that discussion since we closed the hearing.
okay,
We can't go back to the
well,
applicant and ask now.
okay.
So Sean, do you want to discuss that?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor and Council, the applicant will be required to meet our street tree requirement along Joplin Road. They'll also have a requirement that they have to have trees in the front yards on the north side of the private road. Those are just not shown there right now, but that would be a requirement
Yep.
prior to occupancy.
So I guess I will just say that I should have said it sooner, but you know, if there's a possibility that you could add a few street trees in there, I think it would just, you know, it would make it a little just a more pleasant experience and provide a little more shade for the people that are using those pathways. So with that, I will go ahead and make a motion to approve the Joplin Rim subdivision annexation and zoning development agreement and preliminary plat and private street with the R4 zoning with no more than 48 units. And I know that in our packet, and it wasn't, the 10-foot wide pathways were not included, so I want to put that in the condition. It was presented tonight, but I just want to make sure it doesn't get lost somewhere. So I want to add the 10-foot wide multi-use pathway on both sides of Joplin Road and on the east side of Canada. And then also approve the setback waiver that was presented tonight. And
It's lots 2, 3, 4, 11, and 12.
yep, and all the conditions that were listed in the staff report.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion, a second by Councilman Nielsen. Any further discussion?
Yeah, just one more thing.
Okay.
I wanted to just as I listened to the testimony, the other half of Joplin Road that would basically follow the backside of these subdivision, the north side lots, it really covers the setback, although not technically, because there's no way to use that from the down below subdivision. So it's going to effectively end up being backyard anyway. So the setback is a moot point, in my opinion, after learning of the backside of that road being effectively useless land. So that's what I've learned from the discussion. If I'm
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I was thinking about like those corner lots where it might be kind of tight if they were to put a patio in there. But I see what your point is there. And so if that, roadway does turn out to be in our property, then they wouldn't need that setback waiver. And so I would amend my motion to take that item out.
Take out this waiver?
The waiver for the
Why-
setback.
So you're not going to give
Because
them,
we don't,
they
it's not
they
needed.
still need the waiver.
no, they need the waiver to
They
build
just-
because they have to follow the property line for the setback.
But the property line would still be where it is, but there's no
Okay.
useful use of that other 10 feet.
I think Councilman
So the-
Wheelock was in support of the waiver based on the
Based on
information he got.
the lot size is really bigger than it says, is what it's going to effectively end up looking like.
Okay.
So are you removing it or not removing
I
it?
am keeping it in.
All right.
I'm
Councilman
keeping my
Hershey, have
second.
anything? I'm sorry.
Keeping my second.
You're keeping your second. Councilman Hershey, anything?
Just a one-word answer when it comes to the roll call.
Oh, okay. All right. We're going to move on to roll call vote.
Nielsen,
I
Salmonson,
I
Wheelock,
Aye.
Hershey.
Aye.
All right. Thank you. That motion carries. Thank you. We're going to move on to item 6B, the public hearing for the U-Haul. Again, the same rules apply. If you want to speak towards a public hearing, please sign up at the sheets out in the hallway. It is 8:04, and I'm going to open the public hearing and ask the council if they have any ex parte contact or communication regarding this project.
none.
No.
Hearing none. Sean, the floor is yours. All right. I went a little too fast.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
And council, the next public hearing you have before you is a request by U-Haul for an annexation, development agreement, and a conditional use permit. The applicant is requesting an annexation and zoning, development agreement, conditional use permit for U-Haul moving and storage facility, which includes storage warehouses, maintenance, and regional business operations facility. The development is located at 7020 and 7190 West Chinden Boulevard. Requested zoning designation of the property is general commercial C2. The property includes 14.47 acres. The application requirements have been met, including submittal requirements, agency transmittals, legal noticing, site posting. The application has been reviewed for compliance with the Unified Development Code and the City Comprehensive Plan, including the South of the River Plan. You do not have any late exhibits before you. There are no special items of consideration that staff is pointing out, and staff is recommending approval with conditions of approval. Thank you.
All right, anything further, Sean?
Nope.
Okay, hearing nothing further from Sean, if the U-Haul representative could come up and state your name and address, please, for the record. I think you have a, well, okay, I think you have a presentation there.
My name is Brett Galosh with Hillside Architecture. Our address is 345 West Bob White Court, Suite 120, and that is in Boise, Idaho 83706. I'll try to keep this pretty brief. I think we are in full agreement with the staff conditions of approval. I think I just kind of gave this to you in case you had any questions. I think you guys know where the property is. A quick background of U-Haul. U-Haul has been around since 1945. They've got about 80 years. I actually put 75, which is kind of when this was presented. I thought this one's interesting, is they're the consumer's number one choice of aftermarket trailer hitches, which I think is pretty cool kind of feat. They've done quite a bit of business over the years of moving and storage. I kind of relate them to being ubiquitous to like paper, in terms of they're a ubiquitous name when you come to thinking of moving and storage. You think of U-Haul. And I think they've got a very reliable base, and I think they've been a very good neighbor over a lot of communities over a lot of years. This is in terms of where our property is. The property is off of Chinden and near 16, so kind of that developing area south of the river. The current proposal, I think, as we said, there's 3 buildings. There's a building A, which is kind of in that middle spot. That's going to be the showroom and indoor self-storage. There's location B, which is the warehouse which stores the U-boxes, which are kind of the storage, kind of mini storages for rent. Those are the boxes that are delivered and then stored there on the facility. And then per Sean's note, building C is going to be the regional office as well as the maintenance building. We did have the opportunity to meet with your staff, which your staff has been fantastic to work with. We met with them kind of in that early July date. From there, we did kind of make some modifications based on some feedback that we received from there. So a couple of the kind of primary feedback was just was providing a little bit more delineated cross-access easement per your plan. And I think kind of down here on the right there in our site is kind of in this blue box. There was originally kind of a pathway through there. I think the idea was that originally those properties were separate. So when U-Haul came in, they did purchase a larger property. They combined a couple parcels together. In doing that, it kind of disrupted, I guess, a little bit of the original conceptual plan. Working through staff, we decided that a cross-access was going to be kind of the best plan of attack. The reason for that is that it didn't really make a lot of logistical or kind of safety-wise, it was going to be a little bit disruptive of the internal operations for the U-Haul site, as well as I think we decided that it was a bad idea for the general public to be kind of traversing east to west on a kind of in the middle of operations of a U-Haul facility. So what we've done here is kind of provide a cross-access easement, whereas you would come off this Inspirato Drive, which is kind of that newer driveway that's going to be being built currently, and then you'd kind of traverse north and then kind of traverse over, and that would get you your access to these locations, these properties over to the right. We did have the opportunity to work with staff, and that's kind of where this kind of came to be. A couple other opportunities we were able to kind of dig in a little bit when we met with Ryan Field and Sean Nickel and talk about what is this kind of property missing and what are some things that you would like to see from a design review standpoint, and kind of get a preliminary feedback. From there, they kind of said that what they would like to see is, Star likes to see a little bit more earth tones, a little bit more wood tones, and then kind of increase the modulation, recognizing these are larger buildings. We kind of took that feedback. And as you can see, these buildings, this is the original proposal. It's a little bit more mellow or like a little less modulations. We've provided a little bit more visual interest along there, as well as kind of delineating and articulating a little bit of more wood tones and more earth tones in there. That's the kind of, if I go back to that, this would be the corner of the new street, which I believe that's going to be right there along Chinden, which is going to be let me get back there. I forget the name of that street right off, but that's going to be where the street light is at Chinden right here. There is going to be that building. And then this is kind of just an elevation. So again, just adding additional articulation, a little more visual interest along these kind of longer facades and buildings. We did a similar exercise for building A via the building up to the north, or the building up on top here is kind of the original presentation. This was kind of the modified post that meeting with the city. Lastly, and I have an incorrect image here, so I apologize for that. But if we go to this one, the last one was the city staff requested that we just add a little bit of articulation on that building to the north, which is the warehouse building, recognizing that we're going to be abutting next to residential. So the image to the bottom should show a building C, which has gotten a very similar modulation on that south, or on that north elevation. So with that, I did want to show a couple examples. I think sometimes it's hard to kind of see graphically a materiality on those renderings. So these are some images of some recently completed projects that are just coming online. They're about to come online in the next month. This location is the U-Haul Moving and Storage of West Meridian. This is over off Franklin Road. And as you can see, it's a little bit better or clearer articulation of the materiality and the earth tones that I think that we're pursuing on the Star property. And then this is the other example that's coming online here in the near future too. This is the U-Haul Moving and Storage of 9 Mile Creek, which is overland in Meridian as well. So with that, and since everyone always likes to talk about it, I thought I'd include it. Just kind of traffic. Traffic is pretty light here. I mean, I think as you compare traffic center, U-Haul centers compared to fast food and something like that, it's not a big high traffic volume thing. I think it's more of a consistent, it's a resource when people need it. It's a extra place to ebb and flow as you have more and less storage. So with that, we are looking forward to working with the city staff. I think they've already done a fantastic job with us, so I do want to commend them. We also look forward to working with y'all as we go forward on this path. So.
Okay. Sorry about that. All right. Any questions of the applicant at this time from council members? All right. David, Hershey?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. I know you provided us with designs and stuff, so if this were to get approved, it would still have to go through our architectural design review committee, just so you're aware.
Yes, correct.
That. Okay. All right.
Mr. Mayor, no one has signed up for the public.
Okay, no one signed up on that one either, so you got.
I should say that no one in opposition, the applicants' representatives have all signed, but do not want to speak.
Okay, no one else, no public signed up on there? Okay. All right. During that, do you have anything further to say to the council? They could ask you some questions.
I do not. Yeah, I stand for questions if you have any.
Mayor
Councilwoman?
Chadwick, yep. So I see we haven't received a response from ITD or ACHD. Can you explain?
I'm sorry, see that again.
She's asking about ACHD report and ITD report.
Yes, ITD has provided I think they provided a email stating they had no comment in the packet, and ACHD did not provide us anything, even though I've been bugging them for a month to provide some sort of comment. They did not.
Okay, so I saw in your staff report, in the development agreement, one of the things that we should consider would be a traffic light. But I didn't, so what is that connected to?
Mr. Mayor and council, the traffic light has already been approved as part of the Inspirato development. So the only real thing that the ACHD would need to review is the access points on that future collector road, and also the construction of that collector road on the U-Haul side. Staff's comfortable with not having a report in front of you this evening because We do know what is going to be required for the Inspirato half of the collector light. And so we just, I guess the only unknown is the timing of the signal and who's going to put that in. And I don't know if U-Haul is going to participate in that, but that's really between ITD and Inspirato. And then I guess U-Haul would be working with Inspirato on that.
And that light is an action point to Waihe Storm Avenue when it comes through, just so you're aware.
So is that going to be right at that intersection
Yeah,
Right
that's,
The
there?
light's going to be at the intersection of Chinden and whatever they're calling that
of
road.
that road right there?
and
That's in the
that's
gray.
halfway between Highway 16 and Star Road.
Yep.
Okay.
That's like almost the midpoint, I think.
Yeah.
Right?
So if we are to approve this, we don't need to worry about having anything in there about, that they're going to participate in funding that light, or we don't need to do that?
We don't need to. That would be up to
Because it's-
ACHD and ITD.
And I think because we required Inspirato to do it and theirs funded, I believe, correct?
Yeah, that's my understanding. I don't know if the applicant has anything he can add.
I don't know
that?
I don't know all the
Yeah.
details. I do know that U-Haul is kind of working with Inspirato right now on some road share agreement items for this road specifically. There's been some change in ownership in terms of who is kind of managing the developer side on the Inspirato stuff. So we're kind of working through those items right now. In terms of the street light, I couldn't speak to that though. It's part of the cost share as well. So
Okay. And so, so we don't usually, we see that report from ACHD, ITD, and it says, what sort of road improvements need to take place. And because it's on, Chinden, which is a highway, that would be ITD, but it sounds like Inspirato is, handling all the road improvements for this intersection. Am I understanding correctly?
It's Inspirato, the land uses within Inspirato is what warranted the need for the signal light. So that was in their required conditions with ITD and ACHD. U-Haul standing alone would not necessitate that signal.
After the fact.
However,
The other
as
one's
far
already
as
triggered.
what U-Haul is going to participate with, that is up to U-Haul and Inspirato
Okay.
to figure out.
And the only thing that ACHD is probably is gonna dictate the access points onto that collector road.
and
And so that's all gonna be through the permit
Right.
process anyway.
Right.
And,
for
and
them.
we have communicated with ACHD if that's any, I mean, I know we've had multiple conversations. That is how we aligned where our current access is, was kind of from feedback from Don Battles of ACHD. And then we've kind of then we formally submitted to the city of Star.
Okay. And then, just so I'm understanding correctly, the, that North Road, that's like a collector type road that's going to be new, that's on your property,
It's like a private drive.
a private drive?
That's got
similar
a public easement on it to access the properties to the east.
to the east. Okay. I'm having a hard time visualize it with the other developments that are going on around there. So I just want to make
So
sure that I'm
just
clear.
so everybody's clear, there is no developments going on to the
Right.
east, just on the west in Inspirato right now, right, Sean? We don't have anything on the east of U-Haul's property.
Correct. And this road right here is Inspirato Drive, which will eventually connect to what is already being developed in the early phases of Inspirato, and it'll actually wind around up and connect to Star Road through the Inspirato development.
Over the canal.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
And are you required to put in a pathway on the south side of the property? I mean,
The
is
pathway's
that-
already there. ITD's built a pathway with their project already.
Okay.
Yeah, it's that
And
10
what
foot.
about to the east side?
No, because that's two properties abutting each other right now.
Mr. Mayor and
Okay.
Council, the applicant will be required to build curb gutter and sidewalk along the eastern
Right.
side
The
of
east. Yeah, nothing on the
Hawaii
west.
Storm Drive.
Yep.
This time.
And they're
Yep.
doing the
Which
one
should be the western side.
on, yes. Okay.
Western side of their property, eastern side of Hawaii Storm Avenue.
Okay.
Yep. Clear as mud?
Yeah, I'm clear as mud. I guess,
think of it
well, no,
for a
yep,
minute.
I'm gonna ask one more question. So I did notice in Starfire's response that the response time is like 8 minutes, right? Based on normal travel time. So are you concerned with that longer travel time and servicing, if something happens here?
Mayor, council, so that's ideal. So what we do is we put that time into the Google Maps, and that gives us our response time at that point. Take into consideration the new improvement. Right now, we have to go through the light and around. Once we have a new road constructed through the subdivision, it shortens down the time. So as infrastructures improve through the area, our response times will also improve.
But also, just so everybody, so you're aware, there is a fire station right by Waihe Storm that will help service them if they can't get there.
Correct.
So
Yes.
so they have the joint agreement to help each other out.
Right.
So I mean, whether his is 8 minutes or the other one's 4 minutes, someone will be there.
Correct, yes.
Okay, thank you. That's all I got.
Okay?
Mr.
Any
Mayor-
further
Mr. Mayor-
questions of
Mr.
the
Mayor,
applicant?
Mayor
I'm
Council.
sorry?
I'm putting this
What'd you say?
overall plan up here on the screen, if you could
Oh,
see
gotcha.
it.
Thank you.
Just I'll explain what this is. So this is the current Inspirato, and then U-Haul will fit right here. Can't see my mouse? Oh. Possibly see my mouse. Right there, correct.
Yeah, those 3 parcels right there are the U-Haul's
So
project.
as you can see, the boulevard coming through Inspirato, that intersection will be the entrance, that north entrance into U-Haul.
Thank you, Sean. That's very helpful.
Okay. Any further questions of the applicant? David Hershey?
Good, thank you, Mayor.
No? Good. Okay. Councilman Nielsen?
I'm trying to come up with a question so you'll be happy with us, but
It's gonna have a light. They're gonna have trailers getting onto Shannon Boulevard, so.
I'm pretty
they're
clear
gonna be happy
about,
with the light, all 31 trips.
yep. Oh, thank you. I'm good.
We're good? All right. With that said, do you have anything further to say before I close the public hearing?
No, thank you for your time.
All right, thank you. So it's 8:22. I'm going to close the public hearing and go to council deliberations.
Mayor Chadwick,
Councilman Nielsen.
I will happily kick off our council deliberations. I really satisfied with the details that's in the application, with the city staff report and the conditions of approval that are contained therein. I find this to be compliant with our Unified Development Code, our comprehensive plan, south of the river plan. And I move that we approve this application.
Okay, we have a motion. We have a second.
I'll second that.
We have a motion, a second by Councilman Wheelock. Any further discussion?
Nope.
Hearing none, roll call.
Nielsen,
Aye.
Salmonson,
Aye.
Wheelock,
Aye.
Hershey.
Aye.
All right, that motion carries. Welcome to Star. Thank you. All right, we're going to move on to item 6C, the public hearing for the Grunder variance. Sean, do you have a quick presentation on that? Give it just a second.
Got just a second. And as a clarification, it's, I think it's Gruner is the.
Oh, did he? I'm
yeah,
sorry.
We put a
You
D.
spelled it wrong on here.
We put the D in there
Gruner.
somewhere, and we apologize for that. It is Gruner. Mr. Mayor and Council, before you, your last public hearing is Dieter and Catherine Gruner variance. The applicant is requesting a variance to the flood ordinance, section 10-1-2 to construct a residential addition to an existing dwelling without adhering to the 2-foot requirement to construct above the base flood elevation. Property is located at 686 South Star Road. All application requirements, including agency transmittals, legal noticing, and site posting have been completed by the applicant and staff. The applicant has been reviewed for compliance with the Unified Development Code and the Comprehensive Plan. I do not have any late exhibits for you this evening. There was a letter in your packet from the city engineer. And based on that letter and analysis, staff is recommending denial of this variance request.
Okay, staff, I kind of got ahead of myself and I forgot to say, we're going to open the public hearing at 8:25 and ask the council if they have any ex parte contact or communication on this project.
No.
None.
Sorry, none.
Okay, thank you. Hearing none. We'll have the applicant, staff's already provided their report. We'll have the applicant come up. State your name and address for the record, and then the floor is yours.
My name is Bruce Hessing, 2338 West Boulder Bar Drive, Meridian, Idaho. When we approached this, we want to add enough room in one bedroom. As Mr. Bruner has needed a wheelchair or in this case, a walker, it's difficult for him to move around his bedroom. And we're asking for 4 feet to be added to that room so that it makes it easy for him. We're not asking for an increased bedroom or an additional bedroom. So we're not going to, change the occupancy amount. And he would like to have an entertainment room added to the south part of his house. They've lived there for several years, and it just made sense that that would be done. And so we approached the city, and the city, because of the floodplain that is there and that exists, taking the national floodplain and saying, okay, the city has their standard, which is higher than the national. We're just asking for that variance. We are increasing the size of the doors in his home to accommodate his walker. We're adding a few other little details in it, but overall, I think to increase his enjoyment of living, this works. And so we're asking the city to allow us to make that addition. It's about a total of 750 feet. And I think it will enhance the neighborhood. I think it won't hinder anybody in the community. I see it very reasonable, and so that's why we're here.
Okay, any questions of the applicant? I'm sorry, Bruce, were you done?
Yes, I am. Thank you, Mayor.
Verify. Any questions of the applicant?
Mayor Chadwick.
Councilman Nielsen?
Mr. Hessing, do these additions change the elevation? Are they different than the current elevation of the existing structure?
No, they're current. What the engineer would like would be to have us ramp that new addition up another 16 inches. And there's a letter in the file from Dieter's doctor that says that's kind of not possible with his walker. So to answer, yes, Mayor and Councilman, there is no request for an increase in, we want to keep it at the existing house that's been there for a very long time.
Thank you.
Okay, any further questions of the applicant? David? Hershey?
No, not that I can think of right now.
Okay, Councilwoman? Pulling your microphone over.
Yeah, I was pulling it over.
Okay.
First of all, I want to sympathize. My grandmother had Parkinson's and had it for probably 20 years. So I understand how limiting it can be on mobility. So, and all the work that you have to put into, you know, kind of fabricating your home. So to make it, to continue to stay in it. I guess I'm struggling though with the, why you can't for that it sounds like the major piece, the extra room add-on, if I'm understanding correctly, you'd have to do a ramp to enter in a higher elevation for that addition, and it would need to be up 16 inches from the current room that you'd be coming from in the house now. Is that correct?
Somewhat. Mayor and Councilwoman, what would occur would be, there's two sections of the house that we want to remodel besides all the doors in it. The one is the bedroom that he has now. That's a 4-foot addition. That would be almost impossible to ramp 4 feet of that bedroom. So that's off over there. His entertainment room, theoretically, you could raise that elevation by 16 inches to meet STAR's flood code. But that would require about an 8-foot ramp going back into the existing foundation level, which makes it difficult for Mr. Gruner to use his walker to go up into that entertainment room. So that's why we came to the variance, that's to make that all. We're not asking to change the elevation of the existing foundation. We just want to match it and put this little addition on it, getting his bedroom so he can maneuver around his bed, and change all the doors inside, which that can be done anyway. But yes.
Okay.
So I'm gonna ask a question here of Ryan Morgan, our floodplain guy, while you're standing up here. Considering the city of Star just got off of double secret probation here a couple years ago from FEMA on this, what would approval of this do to the city of Star and the potential for insurance rates for others that are in the flood zone if this were to be approved?
So FEMA really does not like variances. We granted one a couple of years ago for fill in the floodplain, which is a different issue. But I've had several conversations with the state floodplain coordinator. And if we grant this one, the biggest concern that I have here is if we grant this one, we've set a precedence, because I've had 4 other conversations in the last month, including one today of somebody that lives just around the corner that wants to do the same thing. And so now all of a sudden we've set a precedence that we could have 3 other requests come within a month. And now are we going to grant 4 variances in a month's time, in a year's time? FEMA will look at that. They will come after us very hard. I don't know the full repercussions, but they could put us back on probation, or they could say, you've already been on, as we call double secret probation. And they could say, you've already had your warnings, and they could kick us out of the floodplain policies.
And what does that do if they kick us out?
It means nobody in the city of Star can get floodplain insurance.
Mayor Chadwick,
Councilman Nielsen.
follow that question up, I would, and look, I understand FEMA's FEMA, right?
Exactly.
The precedent isn't the waiver requests. The precedent is a building that's already built at a certain elevation. So is our alternative then, I mean, now just Mr. Hastings represented that we have a different floodplain standard than the national one. It was my understanding that we had been adopting national standards, but Do we just change our standard? Therefore, we don't need the waiver, and then it doesn't hit the books? I mean, what's the path forward? Because this is pretty ridiculous.
So FEMA sets the floodplain elevations. And they then leave it to the different jurisdictions to adopt and mandate how far above that elevation does the building code require to build finished floors. City of Star, per state's recommendation, has adopted the 2 foot above finished floor requirement. So we require 2 foot of freeboard above that base flood elevation that FEMA has established.
So it sounds like the problem is our code hasn't taken into consideration existing structures that were prior to that code. And we've just required across the board.
So, and that is actually standard practice. Any building that was built prior to that is grandfathered in until they go to make remodels or expansions. And that's what's triggering this, is now that they are wanting to expand the building. They also have what they call a significant or substantial improvement. If you are improving the building, even if you're not expanding it, if you're improving the building by more than 50% of the actual cost, it also triggers you having to revise and bring things up to current city, state codes. So, and I just want to point out and be clear, he talks about that 4 foot that he wants to add to the bedroom. By knocking out a structural wall and expanding that 4 foot, per FEMA requirements, the entire bedroom then has to be elevated. So it's just not that 4 foot. It would have to be the entire bedroom that has to be elevated to our city code. So there is the path forward. If you want to change our city code to bring it back down, in order for their home to be compliant, the city code would have to be changed to only allow for 6 inches of freeboard. I think the 6 inches would make their home then in compliance. But at the current 2 foot requirement, any expansions would not be in compliant with our city code.
Yeah, appreciate the explanation.
So hey, I'm going to follow up on that. So is FEMA's regulation 6 inches at a minimum?
FEMA does not have regulations as to what a minimum is.
So where's that 6 inches come from when you say the 6 inches?
The 6 inches comes from what I know their finished floor is.
Or where the current elevation is
Where their
compared to
cur-
where the flood?
Correct.
I got you. Okay.
So that's where that 6 inches is. I think that they're.
That's where the 16 inches comes from.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep. So they're 6 to 8 inches, and so they've got to go 16 inches higher to meet the current city code.
Okay.
Mayor Chadwick.
Councilwoman?
So along those same lines, but not FEMA related, does it have any impact on like the real estate, like the value of the home? If like I have no idea, but I would think that it would make it more difficult.
It makes it wonky.
Yeah.
Probably lowers the value, my
Right.
opinion.
The converse argument to that is by using that 2 foot requirement, which is what the state recommends, and most jurisdictions throughout most cities, let me clarify, most cities throughout the state use that 2 foot freeboard requirement. What that does is it actually lowers the flood insurance for that particular property. If they were to come down to 6 inches, flood insurance rates for their individual home are going to be significantly higher.
Yeah.
But that's not a scenario we're dealing with here tonight, right? So like I'm all for the 2 foot flood board or whatever it is. Sorry. Freeboard. Thank you. But the home is already not that. The home is already insured. All of these things are already in place. Like that's what I mean by the precedent has already been set. So looking at this particular application, I understand all these technical arguments. And I'm actually in agreement with all of them for new construction. Like this, I've been on this council for almost 9 years. This is the first time the city's recommended a denial for anything, I think, that in my memory. It could be wrong, but there's some of the things that have come to us that I'm like, man, this should have come with a denial recommendation. But this one feels like we're really pulling out technicalities and not considering the facts on the ground and the scenario. So I'm trying to understand if there's a real, I guess I'm looking for what's the path forward here, because I'm going to approve this tonight. And so if we need to, at least I'm going to vote to approve it. I don't know what anybody else is going to do, but if we need to table it, change our code and then approve it, I guess I'm looking for what that path forward is.
Well, if you table it, change the code, then there's no reason for a variance. So he doesn't have to come back.
Exactly. So does that get us out of double dutch with FEMA?
I mean, that's definitely one path forward. My recommendation is, if that's your intent, that's the route you go and not do the variance. Because like I said, I've got 3 other property owners that have asked almost the exact same question for existing homes.
Right.
That are up and down Main Street and Star Road. If we grant this variance tonight, at least 2 of them, I will almost guarantee will have applications submitted within a month to 2 months.
And fantastic. Like they should be able to do that.
But
so my question then that becomes, does one variance, like if we pave the way, because there's a need immediately, if we pave the way here tonight, are we in trouble with FEMA? And then just don't accept any other applications on this until we change the code. Does this one time get us in trouble, or are we looking for guidance on that?
I honestly can't answer that question. I have no idea. And one of the biggest changes to that is the person that we were working with that had us on double secret probation is now transferred and works in Arizona. So we have a whole new representative that I've never met yet, because this happened in the last 3 months. I can tell you that we've also changed our state floodplain coordinator within the last 6 months. I have met with both the old one, because she's still there helping out, and the new one. And he has told me that if this variance is approved, that he might start pressing charges against Star. So,
wow.
Some of this is, I guess here's my thing. If it's 6 inches, then why are we at 2 feet?
Yeah.
And then I'm kind of going back and forth on this a little bit. It's a little frustrating to me. It's almost like government overreach, like no other.
It is
Right?
completely.
When they're actually pushing, and when I go back to 2017 and I look at the flooding that we had, right? And we had some serious water in the river. I don't recall it ever going down Main Street.
well,
I mean, you see what I mean? I mean, we're talking about a catastrophic flooding event that it really doesn't matter if you're 2 feet or 6 inches.
Mr. Mayor, if we go back to that catastrophic flooding that happened in 2017 or 2017, it was flooding over and flooding a place down in Eagle that when it flooded in 98 was not flooding because they raised the road somewhere else.
Right.
Those adjustments are not institutionally remembered unless you lived here.
Right.
And that's the problem is where's this gonna adjust somewhere else that causes a problem? I get it that we're trying to make every application have an opportunity to do their own thing with their own property, but it always affects somewhere else. And that's what FEMA's trying to protect us from, in my opinion.
How does this affect somewhere else? 750.
It always affects somewhere else.
Well, but I mean, I guess my 6 inches and 24 inches is the part that just baffles me, I guess, on this whole conversation that we've been having.
so your floodplain ordinance was updated and adopted in 2019 when FEMA did all the
Yep.
changes and all that. They basically, at the time, I was on the peripheral. I didn't write the ordinance, but I assisted in some of the review of it. Took the state template and adopted 98% of what the state template says. That's where the 2 feet came from. So Star absolutely has the right to change that ordinance and adjust it to whatever they want, as long as it's It can say 0, it can say 6 inches, it can say 5 feet.
Look, I want to be really clear. I'm not advocating that we change our ordinance across the board. But I think what's being highlighted here for me is we've got one house that's already not compliant with that ordinance. It was grandfathered in. Changing 750 square feet on this doesn't change thing anywhere else. And the job of this council, the way I look at it, my job on this council is to make decisions that are local. We got an ordinance, we got a state, we got a national, paints with a broad brush. And if we let that broad brush just paint over the need for a single application, then we do have government overreach. But I think the purpose of a local government is to deal with local things, right? So I think we need in our ordinance to make sure that we have that capability without causing damage. And it sounds like we get that choice, like whatever we set it at, then we can make decisions against that without a variance, and then nobody presses charges.
I mean,
Do we table this to try and figure out what the actual answer is if we don't know?
Yeah, that's why I suggest maybe we table it, right? So
There's no sense in making a decision if we have other opportunities to learn and make a better decision for both the Star residents immediately and larger. We still have other things to protect in the city.
So September, I guess, we still have people that want to speak. So we can finish that out, Chris, or what do you got, Chris?
Well, sorry, Mayor, I'm talking to the mic here. So there's, in our floodplain ordinance, there is a variance procedure. And it's pretty broad in respect to what things can get variances. It starts out real narrow, like you can repair and rehabilitate historic structures. If they're what it calls functionally dependent facilities. And then it also, then it says any other type of development. So it's open to anything. So there's, but then there's a dozen things that the city should look at. And the reality is I'm not sure that any of them particularly apply here. For instance, there's the danger that materials may be swept onto other lands to the injury of others. The danger to life and property due to flooding or erosion damage. The susceptibility of the proposed facility and its contents to flood damage and the effect of such damage on the individual owner. In this case, we've got the owner making the request. The importance of the services provided by the proposed facility, there aren't any. The necessity of the facility of a waterfront location, not applicable. The availability of alternative locations, not subject to flooding. I'm not aware that there's another part of the property that you could add onto the house that would be outside the flood zone, so there's not anything else available. The compatibility of the proposed use with existing and anticipated development. The relationship of the proposed use to the comp plan and floodplain management program for this particular area. The safety of access to the property in times of flood for ordinary and emergency vehicles. The expected heights, velocity, duration, rate of rise, and sediment transport of the floodwaters, and the effects of wave action, if applicable, expected at the site. I'm not sure that that's necessarily applicable. I'd have to look at the map again. I'm not sure how close we are to the river. And then the costs of providing governmental services during and after flood conditions, including maintenance and repair of public utilities and facilities such as sewer, gas, electrical, water systems, streets, and bridges. Each of those items, excuse me, should have been addressed in the application that was made by the applicant. That's a requirement of your code. The applicant shall include a written report addressing each of the above factors with their application for a variance. And then the council needs to make the decision, based on that. I'm a little nervous to change the code, even for properties that were built long before we had a floodplain ordinance, without having some restrictions. We don't want massive add-ons to existing structures that really could impact the floodplain or the floodway. But I think it might be reasonable to do something minimal, whatever that is, right? 750 square feet
that's not necessarily a huge, structure or a huge add-on. But it may be, depending on where, where the location is. But I think it's important that we make sure we're walking through each of these items because you may feel like based on the floodplain ordinance that all these are met. There's not really an increased danger to neighboring property. And the government services aren't going to be affected and those sorts of things. And you could, through our code, grant the variance. I'm less concerned about a precedent being set because every application has to stand on its own. If somebody doesn't get to point to this application, so you gave them a variance, therefore I get one. They would all have to go through all of these steps. It may be that all four comply and the city may say, yep, we're going to grant variances on all of them. But it may be that, that two of them can meet the conditions and two can't. That's fine. I recognize Ryan's, concern. Once you start granting variances to the floodplain, you might get a lot of people that say, hey, they got to do it. We do too, but there is a process in place and there are steps that need to be followed. And as long as the city is following those steps, we can at least justify the decision. I don't know the answer as far as what FEMA would do. I vaguely remember the conversations we had with them years ago when they were mad at the city for a variety of things. It took a while to get, an ordinance in place that they were kind of happy with. So is there a chance that they would, come down hard on the city? I think there is. I think Ryan knows that better than I do. So I think we have to be careful there. But again, we do have standards in our code that have to be met in order to grant an ordinance. And the city council feels like those standards are satisfied, then that's what the ordinance is for. I'm not real comfortable with having standards in the code and then saying, well, FEMA's not going to like it, so we're not going to grant it, even though you've met the standards. I don't think that's the right approach either. And I don't really appreciate FEMA kind of putting those scare tactics in place. If they want different things in the code, then do it. But or tell us to do it. But they don't get to just say you've got a variance procedure, but you're not allowed to follow it because we may not be happy.
All right, thank you. Any further questions or comments there, Mr. Bruce?
Yes, Mayor and Council, Mr. Dieter is 92 years old. We've been doing this application since March. As we all get older, time gets shorter. And I can appreciate the concerns. One of the issues that has always come with these kind of variances is on the flood is what are you adding in the house? I'm not adding bedrooms, which would populate more on that side. Maybe that's a condition in further variances is, it's a big difference adding 3 or 4 bedrooms versus adding, an entertainment room that's 12 by 18. So I would hopefully we could get this variance approved tonight so we can get things going and get construction going on this side. I know that to table it and move it down the road may be the easiest thing to do, but it's got to be addressed at some point. And I just humbly.
Well, I would just tell you,
ask.
if it was tabled, it'd be the first meeting in September, the very next meeting, just to get information if that's what they choose to do. It's not going to be down the road a long
Love you,
ways.
Mayor. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm thinking 2 months. I'm going, oh, we can't do that. But yeah, if it needs to, I mean, we want to work with our city.
Okay.
Mayor Chadwick.
Councilman Nielsen?
Mr. Hessing, have you provided answers to every one of these?
Yes, we have.
That's my understanding as well. I just want to make sure that's
Yes, we have.
understanding. So you've complied with the requirements for obtaining a variance.
Yes,
At
Mayor.
least by the
Councilman.
letter of the
Yes, we have.
of the way it's written. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Sorry.
Councilman Nielsen, I would disagree with that statement. I think he is provided information, but I don't believe that all of it is in compliance with our code. And I want to go back to something that you said earlier, Councilman Nielsen. I've been a full-time city engineer for the city for 2.5 years. And prior to that, I've worked with the city for almost 8 years. And this is also the first time I remember ever coming to city council with a recommendation for denial. I did not do that lightly. I took a lot of considerations into that. Part of the reasons you've never, from staff, had a recommendation for denial before is one of our roles as staff is to make sure things are in compliance with code. And we spend a lot of time working with applicants and developers and homeowners to get something into compliance with code before it comes to the city council. That unfortunately, we weren't able to do in this case. It does not meet our current code. And therefore, because of that, that is our recommendation for denial, or my recommendation for denial.
Appreciate that perspective and recognize that, yes, that is one of the great things about our city staff is that, you know, things do tend to be complete. So we've got this variance process in front of us. And if the requirements are met according to that variance process, what is not, understanding that there's a difference of 16 inches in the code, right? But outside of that, what is not in compliance with what's been followed for requesting the variance?
One of the conditions of variance is that you're not providing additional endangerment or life safety issues. I feel that adding to this building is adding additional life safety issues to the applicant, to our emergency service response people in case of flooding. And I do want to talk about the 2017 flooding.
Before you do that, can you quantify what you just said? What specifically is adding the danger?
So if we have a major flooding event, they refer to those as 100-year flooding events. That's actually a incorrect nomenclature. The technical term is a 1% chance flooding event, which statistically means you could actually get that 3 times in 10 years, but the likelihood of that is very low. If we were to get one of those, how is an emergency response vehicle going to get down the road? Where is the individual going to take refuge until the emergency vehicle response gets
Where would
down
he
the
do
road?
that today?
That's a valid point.
Well, I guess I just want to bring it back here a little bit. Staff's job is to make sure that we're following the code. We were under probation, so he's being extra cautious with that. It's up to the council to decide if the variance is valid and warranted. It's really not, we're not here to put anybody on the spot or anything. It's just, he's doing his job, right? By recommending denial because of the things that have transpired in our city in the past with FEMA and with the state of Idaho's water department, right? And so, I mean, I guess that's for me, I think we got a couple people that want to come and testify in favor. And we get through that, and then we can talk through the council to decide where you guys want to go with that. If you want to table it for 2 weeks to get more information, if you want to approve it or whatever, right? So that's my suggestion that we do here at this point. And to be honest, this is the first time we've ever had a variance on the flood issue. I'm with you, Kevin. We've been doing this the same amount of time, nine years, and never had one on the flood. So, all right. Thank you, Bruce. I got Mr. Chris Hayner. Thank you, sir. State your name and address, please, for the record.
Afternoon, Mayor Chadwick and council members. My name is Chris Hayner. I live at 720 South Star Road. I'm the property just south of where the Dieters currently reside. And I just kind of wanted to talk a little bit about him. As you can see, Mr. Dieter he's not a spring chicken. I mean, he's an old man. His health is declining. I'm very familiar with the floodplain process and the addition here in the city of Star. I'm just finishing up the same thing in my house. So and probably the reason why you're getting all these applications now. My addition was from a want, right? I wanted to add on 500 square feet for my family. Kathy and Dieter's addition is a need. If Kathy and Dieter want to stay here in Star, living next to me in their house, he needs wider hallways. He needs a bigger bedroom. I mean, he's going to be in a wheelchair very soon. And to be honest with you, 700 square feet, their house currently is barely over 1,000 square feet. We're talking about 1,800 square feet tops. If we have a 1% flood, catastrophic flood event, we're going to have to worry about a whole heck of a lot more than just Mr. Dieter's house going down the highway. So that's all I wanted to say is that they're nice, quiet people. They want to stay here in the great city of Star. And I don't see why we couldn't approve a variance or any kind of code leniency or anything like that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Mr. Walls? Just come state your name and address, please, for the record, sir.
Name is Tom Walls. My address is 745 South Main Street. Mr. Mayor, Councilman, Councilwoman. I was briefly in contact with Mr. Hessing over writing regarding this matter, and I was trying to figure out why. And now that I'm actually here, why is very apparent. While I am a new owner of the property on 745 South Main, I did have a chance to speak to the previous owners who lived there 50 years and experienced no floods. There's an artesian well on the property, no floods. When I bought the property, I was kind of, oh, flood insurance, what's this? The only reason I have to have it is because I have a mortgage, a government mortgage, to Councilman Nielsen's point. But I did a little bit of digging, and between the National Floodplain Insurance Program, I believe what I could find for Ada County ran from about the mid 80s to 2022. And I think they had paid about 45 or 46 claims for a grand total, a combined total of $450,000. So while we do have some flood concerns here, I don't know if it's everything that the government has cracked up on their maps. I also will be looking at an addition at some point, and I've also gone the route of looking at an LOMR, because I would have the same problem where it would split rooms for the new height requirement. My only ask is, however you decide to handle future requests, whether it's a variance for existing structure or whatnot, having seen, my now neighbors for the first time, I would ask that you grant them their variance, because it would just allow them to get on with their lives and, plan as best as they can.
Okay, thank you. All right, that's all that signed up to speak. And Mr. Hessing, anything further to say? Okay, any questions of the applicant? Okay, David?
Yes, sir.
Any questions?
No, I have comments, but I'll wait till you close.
Okay, with that being said, it is 9:03. I'm going to close the public hearing and move on to council deliberations.
David, you had said you had comments. Go for it.
You want to start, David?
Sure. I'm sorry. Sometimes you guys fade a little bit. I got a dot here for my Wi-Fi. Yeah, oh gosh, how do I start this? I do not want to deny this, but I am just not in a spot to say yes either. And the reason being is I really know how some parts of the federal government work. I mean, really, really well. Case in point, I've been a Fed for 22 years. And I work in a world that has two words in it: compliant or not compliant. And it's a very solid line. It's not a minorly out of compliance, majorly out of compliance. It's you're either in or you're out. And if you get somebody that's got to burn their saddle for you, then being out is out, and it might as well just be the most capital offense you can ever commit. I fully understand what can happen. However, the human side of me, which I try to emulate in my black and white job, says, I want this to happen. So I really think if we could get 2 weeks to take a look at this and see where we've got, or have the applicant re-reviewed or anything, I think the 2 weeks would be valuably good time to make this work.
Okay,
The report, as I say in helicopters.
all right. Any further comments, motions?
Mayor Chadwick.
Councilwoman?
Yeah, so I agree with that statement and feeling as well. Just want to, I want to do what's right. Don't want to put anyone in danger in the future. But also, be reasonable, and so I'm not comfortable past approving it tonight. If somebody else can make a motion to approve it, I would say no. So I am going to make a motion to table it until, what was it, September 3rd, I believe. So, and would encourage the applicant to read through your letter and make sure that you have explained, how you are meeting all of the findings that we have to find. So that is my motion.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second? Anybody?
Second that.
Yeah, we have a motion, a second by Councilman Hershey. Any further discussion?
Mayor Chadwick,
Councilman Nielsen?
what will we learn in the next 2 weeks before September 3rd or by September 3rd?
Yeah, I think maybe Ryan could provide, maybe we look at some other cities. I mean, other places have to have a similar situation where they have older homes. Maybe Garden City, maybe Eagle. If they have something in their code that, if it's a certain year, if it's square footage add-on, that they allow for a variance. And then again, I just want to make sure that we're covered in his letter, that we meet all of those, that we're able to say yes. I'm not comfortable doing it tonight without really looking at it.
I guess I'm just going to add to that. If we're going to table this, then direct staff and Chris to work together on talking even to FEMA or whoever,
Okay.
just to clarify everything so you can make a informed decision based on the application that you have in hand.
Yeah.
Can I make one comment?
No, it's not your turn.
I agree, Councilwoman Salmonson, that, going for that sort of information for the purpose of how do we write our code a little differently, that would help. But we've got an application before us where we don't have that scenario. So I'm looking for something material that we would learn in the next 2 weeks. And, whether it's shoring up, and making sure that all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed in following the variance code that we have. I'm satisfied that we've got a variance code. I'm satisfied that FEMA has reviewed our code when we adopted it, and they were in support of that at that time. I'm satisfied that if we follow this, I don't even know how FEMA would know that we did it unless they're, watching the camera there, but maybe there's a process. So that's all I got to say. I don't think that tabling it is going to change things materially in 2 weeks.
Mr. Mayor,
Hey, Chris?
I just want to remind the council that if you're looking to amend the code so you don't need an ordinance, that requires a public hearing. And so that requires your 15-day notice, published notice in the newspaper and all those things. So that public hearing would not happen on September 3rd. We don't have the time to do that. And so if you want staff to go do the research and then come back and say, this is what other cities have done,
thinking that, oh, then we can, as a city, change our ordinance. It may be October before we can actually have the public hearing to make that change, then, which would allow you potentially to, well, then you would even have the application, it sounds like, depending what the ordinance change looks like. Because if it's changed so the variance isn't required, then they would just move forward. But I'm a little nervous about rushing through a change, as I indicated before, because I don't want it to just be kind of a wholesale.
But I don't think we need to change to make a decision.
I agree, but that's my point, though, is if the conversation is, let's look at other cities' ordinances and see what they're doing. That doesn't help the decision on the current application, because we can't, for instance, refer to Eagle City Code and say, well, they grant a variance if it's X number of square feet or something. Those code comparisons would be helpful if we're changing Star City Code, but I'm not sure that they're necessarily helpful to make a decision on this particular application when we already have variance procedures in place.
And I agree with that. And I just, if we does this way, like I said, I think you guys talk with FEMA, explain the situation, the scenario, what's going on, try to get some feedback on that, because there's got to be, I mean, give me a break. It can't be a black and white. There's got to be some gray in there a little bit on with different scenarios and situations that are, and that'll just comfort the decision making, I think, of the council.
That would be what I would agree with, is go do some homework with FEMA, find out what we're looking at. Not necessarily for our code to change, but to find out where we stand, what trouble we're looking at either way. And then we can make a decision going forward, so that we don't feel rushed into a decision tonight versus making sure that we're doing it right for them and the rest of the town as
Right.
well.
Okay, any further comments? We have a motion and a second on the table. Hearing none.
So I'm gonna, can I, like, do I need to amend my motion to say, like, directing staff
I think
to?
staff's got the direction. I don't think we have
it
to.
as well. I think we know
doesn't-
what
he
you
doesn't-
guys all or know what
Yeah,
we're
Chris said it
looking
doesn't have to be
for.
part of the motion.
Okay, all
Yes.
right, thank you.
All right, hearing nothing further, let's roll call.
Nielsen,
Nay.
Salmonson,
Aye.
Wheelock,
Aye.
Hershey.
Aye.
Okay, that motion carries 3-1. So that'll be the first public hearing on the 3rd. Mr. Hessing. Okay, all right. Okay,
It'll be the only one.
it's 9:12. We need to take a 5-minute facilities break, and we'll be back here at 9, let's just say 9:18. Get going. We're almost done. We're almost there.
The third's when I get back to town too. That's perfect.
All right, guys, we're gonna get ready. Miss Dana, we're live. Okay. It's 9:21. We're gonna reconvene your city council meeting tonight. We're gonna move on to item 7A, which is an action item discussion on the Moyle Light Latecomers Agreement. So what we're here to ask the council is to approve Chris and myself to get into a latecomers agreement with the Barron Group, who will be building the light at Moyle. And we'll talk about this just a little bit here tonight, okay? Right, Sean? Is that correct? All right, so did you guys see the little letter here that we got for the staff memo? Barron Properties, so Barron Properties had, I think it was 35% stake in that light. Paul Larson's property had 35%. That left an additional 30% to be funded on that light to be put in over there at Moyle and Highway 44. Barron Group has taken on that project to get it done, and they are committing to fund an additional 15% of that 30% that's remaining. They're asking the city of Star if we can participate in that other 15%. And then we will collect latecomers fees with that latecomer agreement on the remaining properties that are around that light to help fund it as they come in to develop. And there's 120.96 acres total that's still left to be developed around that Moyle light. And the 30%, the total 30% that needs to be funded on that, lights are expensive now. 3.1 million, I think, roughly is what it's costing to put that light in. Is $935,148.50. The city's 15% share would be 467,000. Barron's additional, they're going to pay the other 15% of 467,000. It comes out to about roughly $7,731 per acre. This light has been a long time coming to get done. Barron Group has got, there's the exhibit right here that shows the properties. Is that what you're pointing at, Sean? Yeah, there's an exhibit here that shows the properties that are remaining out there to help pay for that light. Barron Group has commercial properties on their project there from their, right in front of their apartment complex there. And Par Larson also has commercial properties up in the very front that are eagerly awaiting this light to go in before anything can happen. Plus, we need to avoid sending all of this residential traffic into Wild Branch, which is not designed, like we've had that discussion before. It's not designed to handle the volume of traffic that'll be going through to turn left and right onto Highway 44. So what we're asking you is to approve us to enter into the latecomers agreement and the city to fund that other 400 and, what did I say, 36,000 or 467,574.25. Is that it in a nutshell, Sean? Okay. You guys have any questions?
Mayor Chadwick.
Councilwoman?
So I saw in the review that Larson was originally going to do that 15%, but then it sounds like it changed parties. They're not doing it, and instead Barron is.
Yes.
So I'm wondering, like, why the change? Why doesn't it?
Barron Group has the ability to take this over and get this through to completion.
Mr. Mayor, just for clarification, Larson Group never proposed the additional 15%. They were going to agree to their original 35%, as was Barron. Barron took it on to include the additional 15%.
Pay half of
with
what
the
was
understanding
left.
that they were going to take the project over and build it rather than wait for Larson to do it.
Okay, thank you for that clarification, because that's I had something else in my mind for some reason. So thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Because if not, I'd entertain a motion to allow us to enter into that latecomers agreement and fund the remainder of that light at the 467. That's a hard number too, by the way. It's not going to go up.
And
Okay.
Mayor Chadwick,
Councilwoman?
so is there a reason why Larson can't do that other 30%? I guess my concern is, why is a burden being put on the city?
Because I'm going to tell you right now, I'm just going to tell you from my standpoint. As a city, when their project originally came in, I originally denied that project because of the concerns of the traffic that are going through Wild Branch. Larson's is not, he doesn't have to add anymore. We only required him in their development agreement 35%. Barron Group is only required to do 35%. We have no other way of getting this light completed with all the residential traffic going through until the other developments come in to get that money. In order to get this completed now for the residential traffic that come out on the Moyle, Barron Group has agreed to add 15% more to the cost of that 35, with us adding another 15%, and we're all going to get the money back as those other projects develop, right?
Basically, it's a chicken and egg.
It's a chicken and egg thing, but it provides us.
Allows it to go forward
Correct.
faster.
And also,
And the longer we continue to delay this, the more that's going to cost in the future.
well, and also keep
Unfortunately.
in mind that until that light goes in, no commercial will be built.
Yeah, along.
Right,
along
right,
that
right.
section. And that's
So-
kind of the key. And once it's built, we're confident that that's going to spawn more development to the north because that light will be in, making that property more desirable.
And we can't ask that additional commercial to pay that other 30% off of their properties, because that development agreement is for the entirety of their properties of 35% each. It's going to take these other properties that's all mapped out right here, the 100 other acres to come into the city of Star, which is going to start coming in sooner than later with that light comes in.
Yeah, or they would have to front the money, install it, and continue to, like, then they could do their building permits and.
They would have to front the money, but.
Right.
Right.
Right, until the other development, yeah.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
So their Barron group's gonna grab 15% and we're gonna grab 15% and split whatever
The
latecomer fee
Correct.
comes in.
Yes, to pay us,
50-50?
correct, to pay us back. Back on each
So,
side.
so they're willing to invest in Star and they're asking us to invest in Star also?
Correct.
Okay.
Any other questions, motions, emotions?
Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Wheelock.
I'd make a motion that we approve you to enter into a latecomers agreement with Barron Properties and finish this for 467,000. Hold on, that number moved. $467,574.25.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second by Councilman Nielsen. Any further discussion? David, are you online still?
Yes, and I thirded, I guess. I'm still here.
He thirded it. Okay. Hearing no more discussion, roll call.
Nielsen.
Aye.
Salmonson.
Aye.
Wheelock.
Aye.
Hershey.
Aye.
All right, that motion carries. Thank you. Item 7B is our Idaho Humane Society contract for 24-25. Yeah, 24-25 for this new fiscal year. Actually, the contract came in about $2,200 less than what we budgeted for. And so we're asking you to authorize me to sign this agreement with them so we can move forward in October. Our police would greatly appreciate it.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Wheelock.
I make a motion that we approve you to enter into the animal welfare enforcement agreement for the year 2024, 2025.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second by Councilman Nielsen. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Nielsen.
Aye.
Salmonson.
Aye.
Wheelock.
Aye.
Hershey.
Aye.
All right, that motion carries. Now it's Miss Christie's turn. The poor lady came here at 8. I told her at 8 and it's 9:30. Yeah. So we're going to talk about impact fee financial contract with Clearwater Financial to help us update our parks impact fees and institute police impact fees. Two different addendas there that are in the packet. And I believe they're the same amount, $46,000 on each. And the money that's collected that we pay on this is actually recoverable in our impact fees as well. So we get the money back. But they help us facilitate and put together our impact fee committee and put our plan together and determine the new fee amounts for our parks and a fee amount for our police, if such thing happens. I mean, the committee's going to decide on it, I guess, on that whole thing.
Mayor Chadwick.
Councilman Nielsen?
This is the first time I recall that we have engaged with an organization to help do an impact fee or to do a study on these type of impact fees. Is that correct?
Well, no. So in the past, when we did the impact fees originally with the city of Star, we did engage with an organization to help put it together. Starfire does the same thing. So all the impact fees are usually utilizing an organization to help put those things together. But we haven't done anything for quite some time.
Right.
And we need to update our parks impact fee, and then we need to do the study on our police.
That's what I'm talking about for these in particular impact fees.
Yes, correct.
Right. So
Yeah, and then just, I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but when our parks and our trails and pathways and trails gets done, then we'll probably bring something back as well, an addenda to look at that process as well for impact fees for our pathways and trailways.
excellent. Mayor Chadwick, I move that we authorize you to enter into this agreement with Clearwater Financial
For addenda 1 and 2.
for addendum 1 and 2.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion. We have a second.
Mayor Chadwick, can
Councilwoman?
I just ask for a question?
You can ask all sorts of
before. Okay, thank you. So regarding the police impact fee, I support it as well, but can you just explain the reasoning for impact fee for police? Like how is?
So police
Yep.
impact fees right now would help pay for, it doesn't pay for personnel, but it pays for facilities and the initial equipment for it. As we continue to grow, that's the thing that we're going to study and figure out. The city of Cuna has a police impact fee. The city of Eagle has a police impact fee. other entities do. And this is one of the only sources that we have to help pay for that needed police buildings or substations, things like that as we go. Right now, we can't use police cars. The state doesn't allow it because of the life expectancy of a police car, but we're trying to get that changed. And if that's the case, then maybe we can utilize that for that as well in the future.
All right, thank you for that.
Did that answer your
yep,
question?
further explanation, and I will second the motion.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Nielsen.
Aye.
Salmonson.
Aye.
Wheelock.
Aye.
Hershey.
Aye.
Okay, that motion carries. Thanks for sitting around, Chrissy, and coming out here to star tonight. But I will tell you, so we do have some folks, you're going to see coming up soon, approval of our impact fee committee. Yeah, with these guys. So we do have folks identified for that. And then the council still has to approve that committee, work with these guys on it. Okay? All right. Thank you so much. Okay, we're going to move on to item 7D, the ordinance for the annual appropriations. So we need to introduce, suspend, and then approve.
Mayor Chadwick.
Councilman Nielsen.
I'll go ahead and do it. I move to introduce ordinance number 410-2025. 2024, thank you. I was reading ahead. FY 24-25 annual appropriations and that pursuant to Idaho Code Section 50-902, the rule requiring an ordinance to be read on 3 different days, with one reading to be in full be dispensed with, and that ordinance number 410-2024 be considered after reading once by title only.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second by Councilwoman Solomon. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Nielsen.
Aye.
Salmonson.
Aye.
Wheelock.
Aye.
Hershey.
Aye.
All right, that motion carries. Now we need to approve the ordinance.
Mayor Chadwick.
Councilman Nielsen.
I move that we approve ordinance number 410-2024, an ordinance to be termed the annual appropriation ordinance of the city of Star, Idaho for the fiscal year commencing October 1, 2024, and ending on September 30, 2025, appropriating sums of money in the aggregate amount of $17,467,273.71 to defray all necessary expenses and liabilities of the city of Star for said fiscal year, specifying the object and purposes for which such appropriations are made and the amount appropriated for each object and purpose, authorizing the certification to the county commissioners of Ada and Canyon counties, Idaho, the amount of $2,014,430 property taxes to be levied and assessed upon the taxable property in the city, providing for the filing of a copy of this ordinance with the Office of the Idaho Secretary of State as provided by law, providing for publication and providing an effective date.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion, second by Councilwoman Solomon. Any further discussion? I just want to make sure everybody's fully aware. We are taking the full 8% on a property tax increase. We approved that already. But we also got to put that in perspective that we have $3.5 billion of taxable value in the city of Star. So we levy very little property taxes here in the city of Star. So, okay, Haley, no further discussion. Roll call.
Nielsen.
Aye.
Salmonson.
Aye.
Wheelock.
Aye.
Hershey.
Aye.
All right, that motion carries. Thank you so much. It is now 9:36 and we have concluded our agenda for a city council meeting. So we are adjourned.